Welcome to the Chew on This podcast. Join your host, Dr. Katie Chew, and her guests as they chew on what matters, one story at a time.
Well, hello. Welcome back to another episode of our inaugural month of Chew on This podcast. I'm your host, Katie Chew. And today I have oh my goodness, should we say how we met? I have one of my most fabulous friend who had to travel quite a bit of ways just to be on this podcast. And it's my very, very special friend, Mandy Cansler.
Thank you, Katie. I'm really excited to be here today.
So should we share a little bit of how we met?
Sure.
Okay, well, I will start. I don't know how many of you follow me on LinkedIn. But back in August, around my birthday, I made a very, very bold decision, and that was to post a poem that I wrote to my therapist. And at that time, my therapist was working with me on post-traumatic syndrome disorder, and she was diagnosed with cancer at some point during my journey with her. And so she was battling her cancer, and at some point it started going towards her brain. And so we had to stop therapy and so that she can concentrate on the radiation care. And so at that point, I wrote this poem to really thank her for helping me so much in my growth. And so I texted her that poem one morning, and I didn't hear back from her. And a few days later, I found out from her brother, who used her phone to reply back to me that she had passed. That was probably one of the saddest days of my life. But I am going to say that, Terry Kasick, that's my therapist's name, she's looking at me above in heaven, and she is so proud of me because what I thought was the saddest day turns out to be the brightest day of my life because of that poem. And that is how I ended up connecting with Mandy. How did that poem resonate with you?
So just a little bit about the poem. It was a really vulnerable poem that I was blown away. It kind of stopped me in my tracks when I read it. And interestingly enough, we're both in the eye world. I've been in the ophthalmology sector for 25 years and Katie in optometry, but that's not what stopped me. It was the content that was within this poem. And so it was written throughout several times, different things that you'd encountered in your life. Mm-hmm. Painful, traumatic instances of things that you had gone through that just blew me away that you so openly shared that. And after each statement, you said, I am a survivor of each thing that you went through. And I sat there reading it like, wow, that was just like ripping off a Band-Aid and just telling the world on LinkedIn. And I've been kind of on this journey and this quest over the last year in my own life. And I was like, wow, mm-hmm. I was just kind of taken back. I read it. I immediately had, thoughts about it. I remember telling my daughter that night, I said, you've got to see this post. And I said, I want to meet her. I think one day our paths are going to cross. I want to meet her. And I ended up speaking at an event that was around, it was a nonprofit gala for a therapy group that's based on a farm in Hickory, North Carolina. And that was already scheduled to happen when I saw this poem. And I knew I was going to be speaking, but I really had no idea what I was going to speak about. I was going to share some of my personal story, and it reframed the way that I wanted to share. So I showed up that night in front of, 150, 200 people and shared I am a survivor. And I filled in my statements of what those were. And I never shared those publicly. And that was in front of my youngest daughter. Angelina was there. My husband was there. And then it wasn't the day after, you messaged me on LinkedIn and said, hi, could we connect on a phone call? And so all of this happened so quickly. We ended up on a phone call and it was just instant connection.
Yeah, and I think when I saw you post the video of you basically, passing my poem forward, using it as a template, but it was your story. And that's what was so beautiful about it. And I honestly, I hope that if you get a chance to see the poem, you know, that you can use that as a template and fill in the words from your own story. Because the main thing the reason why I wrote that poem was really about how survivorship, I mean, it's a powerful word, but I started realizing that survivorship is one thing, but conquering it. And that's how I finished the poem, is that I am a survivor for each of those things that I had to go through in my life to be the woman I am now. And so I just felt like that was all done for a reason. There was a purpose for me to have to go through all those trials. And now I feel so much more empowered. And I felt like being a conqueror really embodied that. And so, like I said, I just hope that, you know, the way both of us embraced it, our journeys, I think that's what brought us closer together, right? And so she mentioned Hickory, North Carolina, and that is exactly where she flew from. I picked her up from LAX yesterday, and just so that she can be here and share part of my journey together, right? So this whole podcast is something where I never thought I would be doing, but here I am, and here we are, right?
That's right.
So I think I had shared with you a little bit what I have envisioned for my podcast is that on a play of my name, you know, Chew, we're going to have hard chews and soft chews. So hard chews are those hard questions, a little bit tougher, make us think a little bit longer, and in terms of our responses. And then the soft chews, I'm giving it to you. You're holding those because you're my guest, right? And so I want to be nice to you.
Thank you.
So, all right, let's go ahead and start off with the soft chews. You want to pull one of those questions out, and then we'll both each answer it. And I do want you guys to know that I have no idea what any of these questions are. My staff at my optometry practice are the ones that put the questions together and put them in the bag. So go ahead.
I don't know either. I have not seen these. Okay. Question number 1. This is good. What's one word that describes how you bounce back?
You want to go first? Or
Ooh.
That's supposed to be an easy question.
It is supposed to be an easy question. I'm going to answer it. But one word, that really does make it tough. But let's see what we can come up with. I would say that one word and how I bounce back is determined.
Okay.
Determined.
I have several words, and so that's why it's hard.
I have more too, but
no. I gotta like cut it down to just one word. Resilience. I'm gonna have to use that.
That's good.
You know, to remind myself that I have been resilient, and that the hard things that, you know, we're all going to have hard things that come through our lives, right? But it's a mindset of how you look at it, and we always seem to bounce back, which is the resiliency, right? But it's to remind myself that, you know, I've been there, and look where I am. I came out okay, right?
More than okay.
More than okay, yes, definitely. But that's where resiliency comes. We pick ourselves up and we move forward. That's what it is.
I love that. And I would share that I don't immediately bounce back determined, but if I wallow for a little bit, I don't stay there too long.
Yeah.
And so you got to find that determination or that resilience to get up. As my dad would say when I was growing up, rub some dirt on it. Let's go. Keep going. And so, yeah.
Yes. All right. So we're going to do a hard chew. Has your definition of strong evolved over time? And if so, how?
Ooh.
Let's see.
Yes.
All right. You want to go first or you want me?
Go ahead.
Okay. Wow. Has your definition of strong evolved over time? It's funny, but not funny. But I can't give it away because I have the word strong in my password that I use for everything. And and I think it's because I needed, whenever I need to log on to a website or whatever, and it's asking me for my username and then password. Obviously, I'm not going to share it because otherwise I'm going to have to, change it on everything. But I have the word strong in it. And I did that on purpose to remind myself that of all the times where I thought I was strong, that it wasn't what I had defined strong. And I think that's what this question is asking, because I thought strong had to be someone that was partially physically strong. You know what I mean? Like you can endure it by, just having that strength to power through. And when I look at my daughter who joined the military, which I know a lot of my followers already know, she's in the Marines, and it's not really about size and strength. And so now my definition of strong is that I am so strong mentally and emotionally. And I think that's how I define it now, is that my strength is based on emotional and mental excellent health,
That's good.
Yeah, and I'm always a work in progress. So I'm not 100% there, but I'm always striving to be 100%. Yeah.
So I would, okay, so the question was if my definition of strong had changed over time, correct?
And if so, how? Mm-hmm.
Yes, very much so. I would say in my personal life as well as my professional life, that the definition of strong to me is what I thought other people perceived it as. If they viewed me as strong, was I chased a lot of success in my career professionally, and was I showing up mentally strong with the answers, polished, put together. When I would take a blow of something that was really hard, how easily did I bounce back? Did I keep my facade up, my armor on, and stay very well polished? And I learned that when we measure ourselves, size ourselves up in expectation to what we think others are, or society has put on what that definition of strong is where we oftentimes miss the mark. And so for me, when I started allowing myself to say, this is hard, I'm still strong. This is hard, I need time to process. This doesn't mean that I'm weak. Mm-hmm. And to let other people see me as a person, it didn't mean I was weak and not strong, by letting people see me as who I truly am. That hopefully it would allow other people to see the strength that they had. That it's just, I think that word is overused.
Strong.
Yeah. I think it's overused in a way that can be really misleading. Mm-hmm. And so for me, changing that definition over time is that vulnerable is the new strong.
Oh my goodness. So as you were talking, that was the same word that was going in my head. Vulnerability, right? That is the new strong. It is new strong. And I think we both identify that being vulnerable is what's been guiding us, right? And it's so beautiful. It is beautiful. I am telling you that once I let my armor down, or I was calling it like different masks that I felt, that I had to always put up, because I just thought that's what was expected of me, not just from my parents, but, just from growing up with, just the various institutions I was involved in or with, that I felt like I always had to keep up a certain way,
right,
and show that I was strong. But now it's like it's so free to be me, right? It's just so free to be vulnerable, and that is our strength.
That's right.
Right? All right. We want to go for an easy one?
Okay. Easy. We've not had an easy one yet, Katie.
That first one was, that was kind of tough.
Okay.
Oh no.
Who came up with these questions? Okay. If resilience were an animal, which one would represent yours
Oh my
and
goodness.
why?
Okay, that's not
Do you want me
easy.
to go
Why is
first?
that considered easy? Is it because
I mean, I've never taken the easy path. Thank you, whoever gave me this.
No, but is it because animals are soft and cuddly, and that's why we think that they're going to be easy?
Maybe.
I have no idea.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I would say if resilience were an animal, which one would represent yours and why? I would say a tiger, fearless, because you think about tigers. I don't know a lot about tigers, so I'm just saying from the outside of the way that you see them show up and just drive after something and just have they don't seem like they're deciding on what they're going to do. They're driven, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going after whatever it is. And I would say that whenever resilience shows up for me in that fearless way, it is to, have the courage. Maybe I should say lion. I don't know. One of those
I don't know.
two.
You can change your answer. I mean, it can evolve as I'm talking. If you come up with another animal, I'm just sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, I'm between two animals right now. So my first animal that came to my head was a monkey. And I'll share with you my second animal, but my first animal is monkey. And it's not that, because I'm born in the Chinese zodiac of a monkey. But I think when I think of resilience and monkeys seem like they're problem solvers, and they're very much into community, if that makes any sense. So there was no way that I could have ever done that alone. And I just feel like a monkey in a forest or in the trees, if you ever look, they're not by themselves. Hidden in those branches, there are going to be so many other monkeys because they thrive having a community. And I think that, and especially if you ever, I've been to Africa and I've been to like Thailand where there's monkeys everywhere, and you just see the nurturing coming from a mother monkey, whether it's to another adult monkey or for their own children, but they're always like helping clean and groom them and taking care of them. And so, I don't know, I was thinking monkey. The only other one, but it's because I don't know much about elephants, but I thought of elephant too. Just, I saw a video, I think it was on TikTok or something like that, but it was on the news, but it was showing that there was some kind of, I think, earthquake, and it was at a zoo. And I'm sure you guys already know the answer. I'm just like, but I remember it was about a zoo and there was an earthquake. So they had a camera showing that part of the zoo, and all the adult elephants surrounded the baby. And they turned around so that their backsides were against, and they were facing forward to protect the baby. And I think that's also a form of resiliency, because nothing's going to back them down, like fear or anything. They're there to protect, not themselves, but for the young ones. And I think, part of my resiliency is trying to make sure that we have a world that's going to be safe and for the next generation. So I don't know. That was a long answer. I came up with two animals.
Okay.
Sorry. All right. So Mandy, are you ready for another question?
Oh,
all right. What did I pull out here? I have, what scar, emotional or physical, are you now proud to show? Do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Oh, I think I'm going to let you go on this one first.
Okay. I mean, I know what scar that I have. Just sharing it right now. I wasn't expecting this. All right. So basically, as many of you are, if you've been following me on LinkedIn, I am a breast cancer survivor. I had my both my breasts removed back in November of, November 3rd. So yeah, I had it done November 1st of 2012. And so I don't heal very well in terms of scars. So the scars that I form are called keloids. So they're very thick and wormy. They look like worms. And I also, the discoloration, it's usually, it forms dark pigmented scars. So against my normal skin, they're just very, very obvious. But those are not the scars I'm talking about. I've never shared this. I'm a little bit, I don't know, hesitant about sharing it, but I think, I think I do need to say it. So I don't have nipples. And because of the type of cancer that I had, they were in my milk ducts, and so they couldn't keep my nipples. And so obviously I've gone through multiple surgeries, and they've tried to reconstruct them from my own skin. And each time they failed. And so I call them the nipple complex, and they just basically don't hold up. And so now I just have scars left from all those surgeries. And so it kind of looks like a war zone on my chest, but obviously nobody knows that because, again, I'm kind of wearing an armor of clothing to shield all these things that I have that are buried very deeply in me, because it's just been hard. It took 10 years for me to finally look in the mirror to see that I don't have nipples. It took me 10 years to actually take a shower and actually rub soap where everyone else would normally rub soap on their body and on their chest. I would just always lather from neck, shoulder, and just let the water run down. And so yeah. And what was the other part of the question? I think that's basically. I know, this is still kind of, and you are now proud to show. Well, yes, I am showing it verbally. I mean, I don't have to display it. But I think, yeah, I am proud to know that right now I'm on this path where, that doesn't define me. I know who I am. And I'm still beautiful.
Yes, you are. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Wow, that took a ton of courage. So
I know.
Look at you.
I know. It's
All
so
right.
weird. The whole world knows it now.
All right. So a scar that repeat that question for me one more time.
It's weird. It's such a loaded question, right?
It is very loaded.
What scar, emotional or physical, are you now proud to show?
Oh, wow. My emotional scar that I am proud to show now is the insecurity of the question that I've carried with me throughout my entire life that I did not identify until this last year. I was adopted at a very young age into a wonderful family. However, for anyone who's watching that has been adopted, or maybe you're an adoptive parent raising adopted children, it still comes with its own sense of trauma. And for me, it created this question that I carried with me throughout life that I never said to anyone. I didn't share it in relationships. I didn't share it with my parents. I didn't share it with my sisters. I didn't share it with my children. I did not share it in the practice. I spent many years in a boardroom surrounded by physicians and working on an amazing executive leadership team. And the question that I've carried with me is, why was I not enough for them to stay? And it started as the question of not understanding why my parents, what it was about me that my parents did not want when I was little and when I was a baby, when really it wasn't about me at all. It was about them, what their choice was. But as children, we carry whatever those insecurities are, we own them,
Yep.
and then we adopt them. That word just kind of carries throughout my life into our identity. And so for me, it was, am I enough? Why am I not enough? And so I would chase the next best thing when it came to success or to whatever. And I'm thankful for that question now, that scar, because identifying what it has been and looking back as I've kind of carried through this journey of understanding myself better so that I can be, authentically show up differently as a wife and as a mother and as a leader and as a friend. Question out loud, because I'm not the only one on earth that has that question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the only person that has ever felt that way. And I decided that it was time to share it. And, the things that we're ashamed of, shame only survives in dark areas, right?
Or
it survives in the shadows.
In silence.
Or in silence. But when you shine light on it,
yeah,
it just quietens that. And I found so much peace in my life as I'm walking this journey, still healing through it, to identify that scar for me. Mm-hmm. And that when those stories start to show up that I've ingrained in my own mind, over the years, mm-hmm. and I speak truth to them, it leaves. So the scar that I would say that I'm most proud of now, that is fairly new to me, is that the question of why am I enough? And the answer is I am, and I always have been. I just didn't see that.
And that leads me to, can I say it about your future writing?
Yes.
Yeah, well.
Absolutely.
Mandy right now is in the process of writing her own story in a book. And so it's going to be coming soon, yes. Right? And, but I think we kind of touched upon this. It's like when you're writing your own story, it's not difficult because it's your story. But what's difficult is the emotional part of it, right? Because I think I wrote just one chapter, but you've written many chapters already, and we start crying, right?
We do. I would say, writing the book, so it is a memoir, and this is my first book. I'm very excited. Choosing to be fearless in it because I've not done this before. But the title of the book.
You. I'm so proud of you.
You've been a huge encourager through this. And I'm very excited about it. The title of the book is it's kind of a 2-part book, so it's not enough ... until I was. And so it starts out from my childhood and leads all the way into the things that I carried with me to the point of almost a reckoning in my adult life of where I needed to stop and pump the brakes and start to heal and decide, how do I want to write my future story? Mm-hmm. My past has outlined my story long enough. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I'm a few chapters into it. Writing it is one thing. I've cried through it. Mm-hmm. And then I'll read it and I'm like, did I really write that? And then it's the part of when I would read it to my husband or to my kids. I've even shared the first chapter or two with my sisters and my parents. And it's another thing to read your story out loud, to say it out loud. So I'm really excited for this journey. I'm healing through the writing is something that I've been talking about when I share it with others, is that this is just as much part of my healing journey as it is that I hope it lands on the right ears and in the right set of hands for someone else that maybe just needs to know that they're not alone in that feeling, and that that vulnerability can be a beautiful thing. I've kind of described myself, my life as beautifully broken, and now I'm sharing that, and it feels good to share it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're sharing it, just because, your story is going to resonate with so many others that have similar but yet different, right? Everyone's going to have their uniqueness to their own journey, but they're going to find things within your book that's going to pull at their heart. You know what I mean? And hopefully they'll inspire them to write their next chapter, right? Because sometimes the things that hold us back are things that sometimes we just need to know that we're not alone, that allows us to give us enough strength to just take that one baby step forward, right? And when that one baby step takes hold of you, and then the next step comes, and the next thing you know, it's like you're going to be running, right? And yeah. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that was the hard. I think
Oh,
you're
yeah,
next.
it's my turn.
Yes.
Drum roll, please.
We need an easy one, please. We need a little bit
Let's
of
see what we got. Oh my gosh. These are not easy in here.
Oh no.
Okay.
What is this one?
Who's your resilience role model? Someone whose comeback story inspires you.
I think I can't go first on that one.
Okay.
Resilience story. Can we pick another one?
Who's your
Can we call
resilience?
a friend? Can we call a friend?
A lifeline? Do we get a lifeline? Who's your resilience role model? Someone whose comeback story inspires you. Oh my gosh. I have to think of a good, I'm inspired by a lot of people, but I'm trying to think of like a really good comeback story.
That's a tough one.
I may have to come back to that one.
Yeah.
You want me to pull a different one? Let's
'cause
circle back.
That's
can
deep.
because
That's
this is
deep.
your podcast.
I know.
And you can decide.
and that's a deep one.
Right? Okay.
Let me just explain. For myself, for me to pick someone, it needs to be someone where I find that it's the right person that I'm going to talk about. And to just say it so quickly and not really put thought into it, I think that's why it's
the comeback story is what got me hung
Yes,
up.
exactly.
Because there's a lot of people that I've been inspired by.
100%.
But the comeback story is, yes. So I'm going to have to think on that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's try this one. If you could send your younger self a pep talk before a big setback, what would it say?
Wow.
Do you want to go first?
I don't really know what's going to come out of my mouth right now. No, it's only because when you were saying that, all I can think of is, wow, it just reminds me of all the talks that I've had with my daughters, right? Because my daughters are the younger version of me, right?
Love that.
So, which of those many conversations that I have had with them, read that question one more time.
If you could send your younger self a pep talk before a big setback, what would it say?
Well, I think the general thing that I've always told my daughters is that that you will never fail in my eyes. Like, there is nothing that you can ever do. So that's what I would tell myself, right? My younger self, that there is nothing that you can ever do, Katie, in terms of failing, except for one thing, and that's if you stop trying. Then that's failure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what I've told my daughters. It's like, it's only when you give up, that's when you fail, right? So as long as you try, right, then it'll never be failure. Because what is failure? It's a definition, you know, of placed on by you or by somebody else or whatever. It's just a definition of what failure is, right? It's trying to meet somebody's expectation, right? And if you don't meet it, then you're going to define it as I failed, right? But if you tell yourself nothing's ever really a failure if you learn from it, and then you take what you learned and move forward, then that means you're not giving up. And so that's what I would tell myself.
That's good. I like that. Okay, so what would if I could send my younger self a pep talk before a big setback, what would it say? I would tell my younger self, oftentimes we're too hard on ourselves, right? We say, we speak to strangers kinder than we speak to ourselves most of the time when we think about it. And I would say to give yourself grace. I was really hard on myself growing up, personally in my life. I was always kind of the comedian. I made fun of things. I could laugh.
You're a comedian. I'm a comedian in my family.
Yeah, it's like everybody was like, Mandy can make you laugh, you know.
Oh my goodness.
And oftentimes I would laugh at the things that I was insecure about or the things I'd really bombed in my life. Some of the decisions I'd made, you know. And then as I got older, you know, that's not really what I wanted to be remembered for, but it was a coping skill. for
It
me.
is.
And I never allowed myself the grace to say, I was doing the best I could with what I had at the time. You know,
that's
and
beautiful.
so if I could give myself, younger self, a pep talk, it would be, give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
Give yourself the same grace that you would give somebody else that you love.
Exactly. Wow. All right, that was an easy one. Okay, I don't even know what definitions of hard and easy are anymore, but
It's not defined by these bags.
No, it's not. All right. Oh, okay. How many have we gone through? Okay. What's something you had to lose to truly find your strength?
Oh, man. Okay. All right. I'm gonna be vulnerable here.
Okay.
So something I had to lose to find my strength was, I told you I'd chased success throughout my life professionally. And I worked in ophthalmology for 25 years. And my first 12 years of that was in a patient-facing role in the clinic. I moved throughout various clinics. I wouldn't stay anywhere longer, 3 to 5 years, and learn that and move on to another. And I never really celebrated the wins along the way because I wanted to conquer the next thing. And, before I knew it, I'd transferred into leadership throughout various leadership roles, coordinator role, director of clinical services, ultimately a chief clinical officer role of a very successful, large, privately owned ophthalmology practice. And I spent a lot of time in boardrooms. I spent a lot of time on the road between locations, leading my team, very large team, multiple departments. And something that I would say I have to lose is, I'm going to phrase that loosely, but you'll see symbolically kind of where I'm going with this. But a little over a year ago, I left my role as an administrator in an ophthalmology practice, which most people would, from the outside looking in, would define it as the pinnacle of my career, to find myself. And I had, I'd done my job really well. And
I was just going to say, and was it worth it?
yes,
Yes, isn't it?
it was. I'd achieved a lot of things in my professional career. And I focused so much on not wanting my team to be burned out, and teaching others about resilience, and wanting to show up as that person that always had it together when I was really needing to focus mentally on myself to be able to, I wanted to lead with exactly who I was, wholeness. And it really took walking away from a role that I was almost comfortable in. It was something I had known for so long. It was a part of my identity. It's who I was known for in the community, and what I did. And, I walked away not having a plan of exactly what I was going to do. I knew one day I wanted to do consulting. I knew I wanted to be able to make an impact in ophthalmology on a larger level. I'd already kind of dabbled in the waters of working nationally, and I really loved that. But when I walked away as an administrator, and I took a sabbatical, and I was like, okay, what's the next step? Ophthalmology is my love. I know that. I love to lead. I know that. Now, what am I going to do with that? And where am I going to start? And my husband and my kids, I can't say enough about how supportive they were, because he said, you take as much time as you need, and you start where it matters the most. Start in here.
Yes, I was
right
going to
in
say,
here.
you start with you.
And I did.
Yeah.
And it has been, that took more courage than leaving the role, was to dig in and do the work on really knowing who I was personally, decompressing after working at such a fast pace and under high stress, and
high
making
pressure,
big
yes.
pressure, big decisions. And so what I would say is, it wasn't that I really lost that, but I somehow lost myself in chasing the success, and I needed to do that to be able to walk away, to have the opportunity of what I've done these last 12 months, which is these opportunities right here. You know, I've been able to work in ophthalmology. I've been able to lead in other practices, but the most important thing that I've been able to accomplish that I'm so grateful for is to be mentally present where my feet are when I'm at home. And to be with my kids and to be with my husband, and when I'm with my friends, that I'm really there.
Yeah,
you know, I'm not
you're
like
doing exactly
checking
what
the email
you
and
want
checking
to
the
do.
exactly.
Right? And it's so different.
It is.
I mean, it's still work, but a different type of work.
It is.
Right? It's almost like it's a work of service where you are serving you first.
Right.
And when you can take care of you first, then you can serve others so much easier. Right?
And when any area of our life becomes so important or we're hyper focused on it, then we take on that identity, and you know, we kind of lose who we really are along the way. You know, it's like being an empty nester. When your kids leave, it's like, okay, well, you know, I've been Destiny and Angelina's mom my whole life. What am I going to do when they're not at home now?
Yeah, because you feel like that
figure out who
they're
is Mandy.
part of your definition, right? And
right.
so, and having, so what you're doing, or both of us, we're redefining who we are.
That's right.
Right?
And what we want the next chapter to look like.
Definitely. So I need to answer this. What's something you had to lose to truly find your strength? You know, I'll be very honest. It's like I'm trying to think of my answer, but then I'm like so captivated with your response. So I'm just like listening, and then now it's like, oh my goodness, it's my turn. You know, I'm gonna say losing my second marriage. And I'm going to say this to the entire world. You know, I think love, it's been hard for me to find a lifelong, I'm going to get teary-eyed here, lifelong partner. I mean, I've always been a hopeless romantic, and, you know, I wanted that, you know, white picket fence, the home, the warm home with a loving husband, and then have children and dogs and pets and whatnot, you know, and just, and that's what I had envisioned in my life. And so, you know, my first marriage, that is a different type of marriage. That was not a marriage of love. And so that one was easy for me to leave. That was easy. And my children were a year old and 3 years old. So they were young, but thank goodness I was bold enough to leave that marriage for the safety, physical and mental safety for both, you know, my children and myself. But my second marriage, that was, you know, I have to read this question again because I had to leave my second marriage, even though my second husband, to this day, I really do believe he is probably, and I think we can have more than one soulmate in our lives, but he's definitely a soulmate. But the marriage just didn't work out because the vows could not be kept. And that's, I'm going to leave it at that. But the point is that I had to have that marriage end. And that ended June of 2020 during the pandemic. Oh, wow. For me to be where I am right now. Because I didn't realize that marriage, it was a very loving marriage. He was a very kind and loving man who helped me raise my children. Together, we were there for both of our daughters. But the thing is that it had to have happened the way it did. Because I didn't realize until now that was a huge distraction. And even though I was seeing patients and I had my busy practice, I was so, how should I say, subconsciously, that I was still letting his relationship affect who I was and defining me subconsciously. But after he left, I started seeing who I am. And so these last 5 years, I've been reinvesting, not financially, but just this energy back into my practice. And I did a full remodel of the optical, and then I, started investing in technology into my practice. But that's physical stuff, right? I think it took losing him that I moved all the noise from my life, and I realized that I have a voice. I actually have a voice, and it's so timed with me being a speaker for a major contact lens manufacturer, that they had invited me to be a speaker. And at that time, I was like, I have no experience, but what an honor for them to invite me to be a speaker. And now, 5 years or 6 years going into this speaker bureau, I have found my voice because I love what I do. When I talk to doctors at my dinners, I'm educating them at a different level through storytelling. And I've realized that's part of my gift, is storytelling. And I think just when I was stuck in that marriage, I didn't know who I was. I didn't even know I had a voice. And so when people say, oh my gosh, Katie or Dr. Chu, it's like, you're on fire these last couple of years. And I'm like boldly saying, like, yes, I am. Yes, I am. But it took me to lose, somebody that I really care about, to give me that space of mental health, to be able to say, hey, I can do hard things.
I love that.
Yeah.
Would you say that finding your voice helped you learn to love yourself? Like, you suffered the loss of this love, obviously, and in any type of a loss is trauma in its own sense, but finding your voice help you learn to love yourself?
Yes. And so it's funny, you mentioned earlier that, when you read something back, and then now not just you wrote your story, but then reading it to your husband or to your daughter, and then hearing it back, it kind of brings a different feeling, right? And it's kind of like that. It's that voice, whether you want to call it a physical voice or a headspace voice, but you end up hearing it back. Like, you come full circle to hear it back. And so, yeah, in I don't know if I'm answering your question, but like, I feel like that as I'm getting stronger, I'm going to put in air quotes, my voice is getting stronger, but I'm hearing myself so much more clearly. It's because that headspace.
That clarity.
Yeah, that headspace is more clear to hear that voice. Yeah, so, and in my office, just so you know, we all sometimes, kind of talk to ourselves out loud. And so we all like look at each other like, don't mind me. I'm in a team meeting right now.
Yeah.
But it's like we all have these voices. And yeah, I love my voice. I love my voice.
Feels good to say that, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It's just, and I'm so happy that you're here, Mandy. I am really, really happy.
I don't even know how we are on time. I mean, we just kind of get lost in the moment.
I am looking at the time. I think we're good. We still have, maybe 5 more minutes or so. Do you want to go with one more question, and then we should be good?
Yeah. Well, okay. So did I read the last question, or did you?
I read.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to read. How do you celebrate small wins after getting through something tough?
Well, I know what most of my friends would do. They would have a drink. Yeah. I don't know. For me, can you read that question one more time?
Absolutely. How do you celebrate small wins after getting through something tough?
It sounds weird, but it does work. And I learned this from another friend of mine, because he always says it. Like, when I go visit, he'll mumble these words, and then I'll be like, what did you say? And then I finally realized, every time when he does something small, he'll say, good job. Good job. And so it's weird, but not weird.
I'll pat my own back.
I do that now for any small win. Like, I'll be like, good job, Katie. Good job. And it came up at a retreat that I went to. It was with the Optical Women's Association. and it was a lovely retreat, but somebody else had brought that up about giving positive affirmation on a daily basis to yourself. And it could be something as simple as saying, good job. And so those I guess those are my quiet moments of giving myself a little pat on the back on those little wins. Yeah.
Nice. I would say it's interesting because it's kind of evolved for me. I used to not celebrate small wins. So I would just, like I mentioned earlier in the show, I would just move forward into the next big thing. If it was my team, I wanted them to celebrate wins. But I didn't really model that so well in my own life in terms of really celebrating, because it kind of feels wrong, right, to celebrate something for yourself. But now
it's because you're a giver,
right?
So to receive it feels wrong,
right?
Yeah.
And so now, when you mentioned those moments of I reflect. I'm a talker. We both are. That's how we clicked, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty naturally an extrovert, but when I achieve something now, because the small things I've learned really are the big things. Yeah. And if you wait for the big thing to celebrate, you're going to miss the point of everything, because you missed your whole happens. It might be the smallest thing that's just symbolic to me. I'll reflect on it. Even if it's that I sit on my porch by myself with a cup of coffee, or, I ride around with music on in my car. I kind of break away from the noise to kind of live in that. We made that happen. That was a big deal. Good for you. You managed that better than what you would have managed before. That could have been a scary outcome. And just really learning to love myself in those moments. Not really so much as, great job, Mandy, but wow. That at one point in life, you never would have had the courage to make that decision, and just appreciating those small things along the way, because used to, I thought it had to be a big something for you to really stop and celebrate.
Oh yeah. I mean, as you were mentioning about, celebrating and those small things, it's like, I mean, it's a cliche, right? Like, we just never know, like, if today's our last day, right? And how people always say, make sure you tell your loved ones that you're thinking of them, right? And because you just don't know. So it's no different about celebrating those small wins, right? Because it's like, when we wait for that big one, well, we don't know when that big one's going to come, right? But it takes little ones to get up to that big one, right? And so, yeah, it's. I think every day we should celebrate. And I had mentioned this on another podcast. But, I dress up every day to go to work, every day to go to work, to see my patients. And the reason I do that is because I am celebrating myself. Like, when I open up my closet, it's like, to me, it's like, okay, nothing is off limits. Like, nothing is off limits. And so, because I make my own occasions.
You're like, how do I want to show up today?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nope. And that's a way of celebrating yourself. Right? And so just putting on clothes that makes me feel good. It doesn't have to be, oh, this is only safe for this occasion, because you make your own occasions. And so, yeah.
That's good stuff.
All right, Mandy. Wow. I still, she flew how many thousands of miles, or I don't know.
I don't know. That's my husband. I'm so geographically challenged. I could not define that if I wanted to.
Yeah. And so
it was a long flight.
Yeah. And she flew out when we had a time change. So your sense of timing is really thrown off, right?
Time zone, daylight savings time. It was a lot of change, but it's been worth it, and we've had a really great time.
Oh yeah. I'm going to mention one thing, and I don't know if you're going to post it, Mandy, but I hope you do. So yesterday I picked her up from the airport, and then she was gracious enough to accompany me to a little get together that I had with my sorority sisters back from college. And so it was a facial party, and we did a little clip of us putting on our face, took off our makeup, and what perfect timing, right? It to be raw and real, and to prepare us for today.
Well, let's clarify. This was an Asian sorority group, a Korean skin line product. and redheaded Mandy shows up. See, we just kind of laughed about this. It was such a great group. And I was like, I don't take my makeup off in front of anybody. But before I know it, I'm like scrubbing my big forehead. We had such a great time. So much fun.
I adore you. And you were such a great sport. And it was just, so I hope that from today's episode that, I probably have felt the most relaxed. I'm going to be very honest. I mean, being new in the podcast world, I genuinely feel like this was me and you.
It felt good.
It felt really, really good.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that this won't be our only podcast, maybe in the future, and maybe I can bring all my stuff in and go out to Charlotte.
Oh, show you around North Carolina.
Yeah, and then we can maybe do a taping out in your area. I don't know, but I just want to thank every one of you for listening to my podcast. And, this is always a reminder, a gentle reminder for all of us to see clearly each and every day, to lead boldly in every manner that you choose, and to live purposefully. I think that is really one of the secrets to life. So until next time, take care.